Members, we are back in session. Mr. Calderon, for what purpose do you rise?
Madam Speaker and members, under motions and resolutions, there are amendments at the desk to file item 21 SB 70. I ask that we move to those amendments now.
Without objection.
I ask that these amendments be adopted by unanimous consent and that we take up the bill as amended in mock-up form for file purposes on the third reading file today.
Without objection, Mr. Blumenfield needs to open on the amendments. The clerk will read.
Without objection, Mr. Blumenfield needs to open on the amendments. Clerk will read.
Senate Bill 70 with amendments by Assemblymember Blumenfield.
Great. Thank you. These amendments are a technical fix to the gas tax swap. The amendments exempt diesel railroad engines, agriculture, off-road constructions, and small airplanes from the additional fuel tax and the gas tax swap, as was originally intended under AB 8X. It really is just a technical fix to make sure that the bill for all parties does not raise the price at the pump for all parties, and it will not score any additional funding because the technical fixes that were in it were assumed in the original analysis of the bill. So with that, I ask for your aye vote on the amendments.
Seeing no objections or questions, we will take a voice vote on the amendments. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say nay. The amendments are adopted. Clerk will read the bill as amended.
Senate Bill 70 by the Senate Committee on Budget and Fiscal Review, an act relating to taxation to take effect immediately, tax levy.
Mr. Blumenfield?
Just to add to what I said, this is a technical fix. The intention was not to raise the price at the pump on any person or group, and that's what this technical fix does. And with that, I ask for your aye vote.
Seeing no debate or questions, clerk will call the roll. We'll open the roll. All members desire to vote? Please vote. All members desire to vote? Please vote. They're done. Clerk will close the roll and tally the vote. Ayes 52, noes 0. Measure passes. Without objection, SB 70 will be immediately transmitted to the Senate. Mr. Calderon.
Madam Speaker, there are amendments at the desk to add an urgency clause to SB 71. I request unanimous consent to take up the measure without reference to file for the purpose of amendment, and if the amendments are adopted, to take up the bill as amended in mock-up form.
Oh, you know what? The committee still.
Members, we have to put this over. We are still waiting for some amendments. Members, Mr. Torlakson would like to lift the call on file item 20. File item 20. Clerk will post.
Is that what you want for the words?
All members vote who desire to vote. 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 Okay, we almost say. Mr. Torlakson moves the call. Members, we're waiting for amendments on SB 71. It's going to be about 15 minutes. Members, it's taking a little longer than expected, about 10 more minutes. We have to manually add co-authors to this bill. Thank you.
Are we ready?
Members, we are back in session. Mr. Calderon, for what purpose do you rise?
Yes, Madam Speaker, there is a committee report on SB 71 at the desk. It's from the Budget Committee, and I request that we move that to that report.
Without objection, the request is granted.
Now there are amendments at the desk to add an urgency clause to SB 71. I request unanimous consent to take up the measure without reference to file for purposes of amendment, and if the amendments are adopted, to take up the bill as amended in mock-up form.
Without objection, the committee report is deemed read and adopted, and without objection, the motion carries. There are amendments at the desk on SB 71. The clerk will read with amendments.
Senate Bill 71 with amendments by Assemblymember Blumenfield.
Mr. Blumenfield, you may open on your amendments.
Thank you. These are amendments to add the urgency clause and the additional co-authors. And I ask for your support on those amendments. Where's this for the whole bill?
Okay, seeing no questions or debate, without objection, we will move to the voice vote on the adoption of the amendments. All those in favor signify by the usual sign of aye. All those opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Amendments are adopted. Permission was already granted to take the measure up without reference to file in mock-up form. The clerk will read.
Senate Bill 71 by Senator Padilla, an act relating to economic development and declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
Mr. Blumenfield, you may open.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I rise in support of SB 71, a Green Jobs Initiative. We are experiencing the most severe economic downturn since the Great Depression. California, we're struggling with $20 billion budget deficit, double-digit unemployment, and the continued loss of both jobs and employers. A key strategy to getting us out of this is green technology and a new energy economy. Recognizing this opportunity, many states are aggressively attracting California green manufacturers, and it's time that we did the same. This bill specifically will authorize a sales tax exemption on equipment used in the manufacture of clean energy and clean transportation products. It will create jobs and help California compete with other states that offer similar financial incentives. This is important, according to the Department of Finance, the program would have no impact on the budget. Since absent this program, the projects incentivized by this bill would not have occurred. And based on this analysis, the program would be stimulative and not result in granting exclusions to investment activities that would otherwise have occurred. We just heard this bill in Budget Committee. It was unanimously approved by both Democrats and Republicans. We see this as a way to meet our AB 32 goals, our environmental goals, as well as our jobs and economy goals. This is a way we can not just bring the economy forward, but we can do it in a way that's environmentally sensitive and doesn't pit environment versus economy. I ask for your aye vote.
Questions or debate? Mr. Adams.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Members, I rise in strong support of this measure. And while I was, in fact, one of the yes votes in the Budget Committee, I think it's important to remember and to point out the necessity to have green jobs coupled with our gray jobs. All jobs should be preeminently important to California. I think it's important that we remember that not one piece of this puzzle solves the problem, but all the pieces of the puzzle working in coordination with each other is what makes California great again. Members, I'm proud to support this bill and would urge your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Mr. DeVore.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I certainly view this measure as a good first step. And it's a good first step because while it does help create new careers in some exciting new technologies, it does so while ignoring existing careers and jobs and other emerging technologies that would create other exciting new careers for the hardworking men and women of the state of California. And the fact is that if something makes sense, if something can be profitable, then people are going to go out and try to do it anyway. And so to the degree that we're encouraging the creation of jobs, creating a new economic activity, leading to new careers for Californians, that's a good thing. But ladies and gentlemen, let's not be discriminatory. Let's broaden our scope and realize that we now have the 5th highest unemployment rate in America, and that we had to work hard to get that fifth highest unemployment rate by having among the least attractive tax and regulatory climates in the nation. This helps with one small part of our emerging economy. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take that first step, and let's take several more and make California once again a place to do business in. Vote aye.
Mr. Norby.
This bill recognizes that lowering, and in this case eliminating taxes, does stimulate jobs in the economy. We ought to apply that to other sectors as well, rather than just a very, very small sector, which in the end is going to have to be a profitable sector and not simply rely on tax exemptions or subsidies. We should be simplifying our tax code for the many, not creating more loopholes and exemptions for the few. This is a piecemeal approach. Sometimes that's as good as you'll get.
Thank you, Mr. Norby. Mr. Solorio.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. As you all know, an important part of California's economy is our innovation economy, and this would help stimulate that economy and keep us strong fiscally. I ask for your vote.
Mr. Nilo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. A question of the author.
Without objection.
I want to make sure that I understand some basic issues here and the underlying premise of the bill. I think, Mr. Blumenfield, I heard you say that I believe it was the Franchise Tax Board that opined, and I suspect by reference you must agree with the contention that this measure will not cost revenues because these manufacturers would not otherwise come here. Do I understand that correctly?
That's what they've opined, yes.
So therefore, an underlying premise of this bill is that the sales tax on manufacturing equipment does indeed discourage the establishment of manufacturing entities in this state. Would that be a fair assessment as an underlying premise of this bill?
I think that's a logical leap.
Could I ask then why you wouldn't apply this to other areas of manufacturing where the premise still has to be equally as operative?
There may be indeed other areas that it can be applied to. I think we need to look at each one.
Thank you very much, Mr. Blumenfield. On my own time, we now have a member of the majority party agreeing with an approach piggybacking on Mr. DeVore's and Mr. Norby's point, as I have tried and others have tried to pass sales tax exemptions for manufacturing equipment generally. The piecemeal approach is fine with me if we can build on it, and I am heartened by the fact that we now have a member of the majority party who has endorsed this notion, and I hope we can come back later and broaden this exemption. Thank you very much, Mr. Blumenfield.
Thank you, Mr. Nilo. Mr. Manny Perez.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. First of all, let me just say that I support this measure and ask for your aye vote, and I appreciate the vision once again of our Senator Padilla for bringing this forth. And as the Chairman for Jobs and Economic Development and the Economy, we know that we are facing tough times. We've heard it from many different folks, and according to a PPIC poll, the number one issue that is being faced, or when you ask folks within our communities, the number one issue, whether it's transportation or healthcare or education or jobs, their number one issue that continuously keeps popping up is jobs and the economy. And as I travel throughout the state of California to talk about reform and to talk about recovery, the number one issue that keeps coming up from folks as well in our communities is jobs once again. And as I go into my district, in which we have 30% unemployment rates and maybe even higher in certain areas, once again, the issue is jobs and economic recovery. And so this bill is a great bill because it's a bill in which I believe is going to keep manufacturing here in the state of California. When we also talk to manufacturers throughout the state of California, they have many different concerns, whether it's the issue of regulation, whether it's the issue of torts. But one of the issues that keeps coming up as well is that the state of California is not business friendly. Well, this is an attempt. And for some of you, perhaps this is not the entire enchilada, but you know what? This is an incremental change. For some of you, perhaps this is not the whole, but this is somewhere in which we can move forward, in which we demonstrate to the business community that we are serious about creating jobs in the state of California, and that we're also serious about keeping manufacturing here in the state of California. And so it needs to be reciprocal. In other words, if we're going to create jobs in the state of California, we need to provide that incentive, that credit for manufacturing companies to stay here in the state of California. I ask you to support this measure because it's not just about manufacturing, it's also about our constituents throughout the state of California. And quite frankly, this is also about those folks that have been underrepresented. It's also about those folks that have not had an opportunity to find a good paying job. They deserve just that. So once again, by all means, let's support this measure, and I appreciate Senator Padilla as well as our Assembly member for bringing this forth. Thank you.
Ms. Huber.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm a little concerned about the tone of the debate. I'm afraid it's going to scare off some of my colleagues on one side of the aisle. Here, we're talking about a narrowed, focused approach to incentivize the kind of manufacturing jobs in California that we know we want to have the next 10 years, 20 years from now. This bill is about implementing a vision for California being on the cutting edge of the next innovation of green technology jobs. And this bill is one step, a targeted tax credit just on that manufacturing equipment that is going to help us realize that economic vision in California, and I urge your aye vote.
Mr. Tom Berryhill. Oh, I am sorry. Mr. Gilmore.
Please don't, Madam Speaker, thank you. Members, please don't confuse me with my colleague, Tom Berryhill. Just real quickly, I couldn't help. I thought we were coming to kumbaya here just a moment ago with the talking about the breaks on tax breaks. I'm supporting this bill. But I certainly believe that we should be looking at other businesses, tax breaks for other entities in the state of California to put people to work. My colleague that's down in the desert there where he's talking about 30% unemployment, I sound like I want to top that. Some of the areas in my district are 40% unemployment. Not only here in California but nationally, and we need to be putting people back to work, and we do that by giving tax breaks to corporations, businesses, to put people to work. I support SB 71. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gilmore, and I apologize. I got confused on the mic location, not the people. Mr. Logue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to get up and just say to you about the green jobs. I really think that it's great to have a tax credit for the green jobs, but if you really want to help the green industry, help the gray industry. Because the green jobs are all being subsidized by the taxpayers of this country and this state because of the gray economy. So if we are able to give tax credits to the gray economy, you're going to have more money to subsidize the green economy and further your objectives. So I believe that it's imperative that we can go forward with this proposal. I will support it. But I want you to know that Spain did the same thing. They bet their future on the green economy, and their unemployment rate is at 20%. So it's imperative that we include all jobs, all businesses, all manufacturing if you want the green economy to grow, because the only way it's going to grow is by propping it up, even when it's on life support, by the gray economy. Thank you.
Mr. Blakesley.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I, too, rise in support of this piece of legislation. Globally, we are facing a crossroads. In our generation, we will ultimately see a population of 9 billion people with diminishing and decreased access to hydrocarbon resources around the world. And someone, somewhere, will ultimately develop the technologies that will continue to power our homes and our factories and our schools. And there's no reason California shouldn't be that place where those jobs originate and where those technologies are developed and where those products are sold to 9 billion people around the world. We certainly saw that with the Silicon Valley and the microchip, the power of a crucible of a committed group of people and institutions, educational facilities, and smart tax code to draw the best and the brightest to California, we have the opportunity to become the exporting center for these clean tech technologies which could revolutionize how people power their lives and their workplace. It's important not only for our jobs and the jobs of our children, but it's important for the environment of our planet, and I would be very proud to see those types of jobs originating in California.
Mr. Gaines?
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair and members. I rise in support of SB 71, but I can't help but look back at the challenges that we had with the NUMMI plant and the loss of, with suppliers included, up to 20,000 jobs in the state of California, and how, you know, when you look at that settlement and what's happening with the closure of that plant, Toyota's coming up with $250 million in settlement for the employees, and we could have spent a lot less money if we had a little bit more vision in terms of providing the right sort of incentives on equipment tax credits in the past. And I know that we made an effort at the end to try to save that facility, but clearly we have to look at a policy for creating jobs statewide on an even playing field. We're only one of 3 states in the nation that is not allowing this equipment tax credit. So I do support SB 71, and I'm hoping that we can expand this in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, members. Seeing no further debate, Mr. Blumenfield, you can close.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to clarify something Mr. Nilo said, and in good fun, but I want to make sure one of the reasons why we have such that we did. I want to clarify we didn't buy the undercoating or the extended warranty on this one. One of the reasons why we're supporting it is because it's a surgical strike. It is going after, and the reason why we have such group, and I say this in good fun, the reason why we have such group support is because it is targeting a sector of our economy that is the future growth for our economy. And that's something we can all get behind. On other ones, we can talk about them on an individual basis. But this one, we all get behind a surgical strike. This is the industry that's going to move us forward. We've seen it time and time again. And with that, I ask for your aye vote.
Clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. 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 I think Buchanan. Clerk will close the vote. Clerk will close the roll and tally the vote. On urgency bills, the response is ayes 73, no 0 on the urgency, and ayes 73, noes 0 on the bill. Mr. Blumenfield, for what purpose do you rise?
With that, I ask for immediate transmittal to the Senate.
Clerk will note. Huh? Members, we received AB 183 from the Senate. Without objection, I request unanimous consent to waive the one-day waiting period for AB 183, which is pending for concurrence in the Senate amendments, and to take it up without reference to the file. AB 183 is before us. Ms. Caballero, clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 183 by Assemblymember Caballero, an act relating to taxation to take effect immediately, tax levy.
Ms. Caballero.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker and members. It gives me great pleasure to present to you today AB 138, a bill to stimulate the purchase of new and previously owned homes in order to improve California's economy. In February 2009, this legislature approved a $10,000 new home tax credit. Shortly thereafter, the home builders saw an increase in traffic of over 80%. They saw immediate increase in home sales, and the Construction Industry Research Board reported a 39% increase in new building permits. Home prices stopped their downward spiral and began to steadily increase. AB 183 authorizes $200 million in income tax credits, the same $10,000 home income tax credit for homes purchased between May 1st, 2010 and August 1st, 2011. The homes must be purchased as the principal residence, and $100 million will be used for unoccupied new homes and $100 million for the first-time home buyer purchasing existing home. This bill is needed because it is very clear that new homes and foreclosed homes are on the market, and it's an opportunity that we have to move those homes. Additionally, it's very clear that once these homes are sold, we see an immediate increase in the development of new building permits, which puts people back to work. And the home building industry has indicated to us that they were able to bring people back to work, people that had been laid off and had been unemployed for a number of months. That tax credit was oversubscribed within 4 months of rolling it out. And this is an opportunity for us to get back into the market again, for us to be able to put people back to work again, to be able to provide an opportunity for people to move into homes that are vacant, homes that are creating a public safety and safety issue for local governments. I had local governments coming to speak to me during this period saying, we've got vacant homes, we need authority to be able to do something about them, we need to be able to get families into them as quickly as possible because they become a vagrancy and a public safety issue. This is a great opportunity for us to be able to invest in new families moving into these homes and also to be able to put people back to work. So I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Ms. Caballero. Mr. Questions or debates? Mr. Solorio.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I'm happy to rise in support of AB 183 today. I want to in particular thank the author, Assemblymember Caballero, and some folks in the Senate, Senators Ashburn and Calderon, for their work for the 2009 homebuyer tax credit. As was discussed, this program was an absolute success last year. In Orange County, for example, in 1 month, home sales were up 87%. It created jobs and it generated new property tax and sales tax revenue for state and local governments. The home buyer tax credit in 4 months, last year, all the tax credits were used. We need this program again during these trying times. I urge for your aye vote. Thank you.
Ms. Harkey.
I have a question of the author. I believe this bill, may I? I'm sorry.
Without objection.
Yeah. I believe this bill may have been a gut and amend because there is line number 1, to 3 or paragraph number 3 on page 2 that I think should be omitted. It says, by expanding the definition of an existing crime, this bill imposes a state-mandated local program. I believe that's an error on the most current revised bill I have. I don't know if that matters or just pointing it out.
My understanding of that language is it's put into the bill. It references a penalty that will be imposed if, in fact, you are accessing this tax credit and committing a fraud.
Okay, good. I'm glad. Thank you.
Ms. Huber.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just wanted to rise in support of this bill. As you know, I presented the equivalent bill for last session, the first $100 million that we had as this tax incentive. And for those of you who haven't had an opportunity to look at the economic impact, permission to read?
Without objection.
The California Association of Realtors has put numbers on the economic impact from those tax credits and says that a first-time homebuyer tax credit, which is $100 million of this $200 million in this bill, will equal $24.8 billion worth of stimulus. And part of this is calculated by, as people buy these homes up, they call the painter and ask them to paint. They replace the carpet. They bring a landscaper out to fix the landscaping. So not only are we getting these houses refurbished, but we are having jobs as part of the investment of this tax credit. So I urge your aye vote. Thank you.
Mr. Furutani.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker and members. I think it's worth noting that not only the support for this bill is necessary, but the bill has been expanded. If people remember, last year we were dealing with, just as Ms. Huber said, the first 100,000 with first-time home buyers that bought brand new homes. This second group is going to be able to bring about people that are buying used homes for the first time after not being a homeowner for 3 years. And I think that really speaks to a broader spectrum of our society that can participate in this, and I think that's what makes it doubly attractive. So I urge support of this bill.
Mr. Logue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This bill is an excellent bill. I like the fact that it's been expanded to first-time home buyers, not only just new construction, but first-time home buyers. I believe this will help us jumpstart our economy and it'll allow us to get back to work. It's a step in the right direction. I support the bill, AB 183. Thank you.
Seeing no further debate or questions, Ms. Caballero, you may close.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. There's a direct correlation between increased crime and vacant properties. Foreclosed homes, vacant homes depress the market value of the existing homes and are having a tremendous impact on all over the state. Declining property values have hurt our local governments tremendously, and so this really is an opportunity to do a number of things, all of which are part of our goals, which are to get people into those homes, particularly first-time home buyers, and also to get them back on the property tax rolls and to be able to put people back to work. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Clerk will open the roll. All members wishing to vote, please vote. All members wishing to vote, please vote. All members desiring to vote, please vote. All members desiring to vote, please vote. Clerk will close the roll and tally the vote. Ayes 65, no 2. The measure passes. And Ms. Caballero requests immediate transmission to the governor. Okay, members. File item 22, SB4. Clerk will read.
Senate Bill 4 by Senator Oropeza, an act relating to public resources.
Ms. Brownlee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I bring before you SB 4. We had a very healthy discussion on the floor on Thursday, so I'm not going to go through the bill again, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Mr. Jeffries.
Just very quickly, members, as was pointed out, the bill hasn't changed from the nanny state bill that it was last week. It was a nanny state bill then. It is a nanny state bill now. I encourage a no vote.
Seeing no further debate or questions, Ms. Brownlee, you may close.
Respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Clerk will open the roll. All members desiring to vote, please vote. All members desiring to vote, please vote. And then all members desiring to vote, please vote. All members desiring to vote, please vote. Clerk will close the roll and tally the vote. Ayes 42, noes 27. The measure passes. Ms. Brownlee, for what purpose do you rise?
I request immediate transmittal to the Senate.
Without objection.
Thank you.
Members, we are going to lift the call on file item 20, SB 10. Clerk will post. All members desiring to vote, please vote. 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 Mr. Torlakson replaces the call. We are at the second day consent calendar, members. Does any member wish to remove an item from the second day consent calendar? No. Seeing and hearing none, the clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1684 by Assemblymember Jeffries, an act relating to civil actions.
Clerk will open the roll on the consent calendar. All members who desire to vote, please vote. All members who desire to vote, please vote. The clerk will close the roll and tally the vote. Ayes 71, noes 0. The measure passes. The consent calendar is adopted. Members, we're almost done. Ms. Galgiani, you are recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I want to remind you that this is National Agriculture Week, and tomorrow on the west side of the Capitol, we will celebrate California Ag Day. This is always a well-attended event and shows just a few of the over 350 different commodities produced in California. California agriculture is valued at over $31 billion and is a major contributor to our state's economy. There will be a farmers market on 10th Street and booths showing examples of the many different commodities. Members are encouraged to go at 10:30 as the exhibits will open to the public at 11:30. Please join me tomorrow in celebrating California agriculture. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Galgiani. Mr. Calderon?
Yes, Madam Speaker, earlier we waived the file notice requirements to allow the GL Committee to hear AB 142 by Ms. Hayashi Tuesday, March 23rd, upon the call of the chair, and the room was not announced. That room is 444, and the hearing will be at 1:30.
Okay, members, the session schedule is as follows. Tuesday, March 23rd, check-in session. Wednesday, March 24th, check-in session. Thursday, March 25th, floor session at 9:30 a.m. Spring recess begins upon adjournment. Friday, March 26th, recess. Monday, March 29th, it's a holiday, it's Cesar Chavez Day. Tuesday, March 30th, recess. Wednesday, March 31st, recess. Thursday, April 1st, recess. Friday, April 2nd, recess. And Monday, April 5th, floor session at 12 o'clock noon. Okay. Pursuant to Mr. Calderon's request, pursuant to Assembly Rule 77.2, I am re-referring AB 142, Hayashi, to the Committee on Governmental Organizations. Members, we have one more bill on call. We are going to lift the call, members. Clerk will post. File item 20, SB 10. All members vote who desire to vote. 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 Mr. Torlakson?
Announce the vote and request reconsideration.
Ayes 35, noes 28. Mr. Torlakson notices reconsideration. Okay, members, I'm ready to entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Calderon moves and Mr. Hagman seconds that this House stands adjourned until Thursday, March 25th at 9:30 a.m. Quorum call is lifted.